Hi, good day, everyone. So wonderful to be with you again. I'm Linda Riley, and I'm with my soul sister and partner in crime here, Betty Ann Golden, who's in her home in Vegas, and I live in Vancouver, BC. I've also got Frizz the bird with us today. He seems to he's my stepdaughter's cockatiel, and he seems to want to be chattering with us. So we're going to let him join in, and that is what you hear if you hear any kind of background stuff. It's Frizz the bird trying to be part of what's going on. He wants to be included. It's so cute.
Yes, it is.
Yes, yes. Anyways, yeah, like we're picking up from where we left off last time. We've been talking the last few episodes with you about, deepening. How do we deepen into greater love, joy, and abundance? All those wonderful gifts that are available to us. And what we really need, we've also been talking about what we believe. We need to examine, we need to look at if we want to do this, if we want to lead better lives, if we want to be happier, if we want to be more joyful, and all these sorts of good things. There are some blocks, mental blocks, most of them, a lot of them unconscious, a lot of thought habits, a lot of beliefs that we may have going on that really they act as blocks to greater, more of these wonderful things that we want. They're not an energetic match to what we want. So it's a good idea to look at these things. We're just talking, Betty Ann and I, about things that, we've looked at and have made a difference in our lives. And hopefully there's some nuggets in here for you too. And we are here anytime, you want to reach out and talk about something in particular, we're here. And, we'd be honored to do that with you. And so in the past episodes, we've talked about these blocks again, these barriers to more of what we want in our lives. We looked at, feeling like we're not enough, those kinds of feelings, low self esteem, right? We're not worthy enough. We don't deserve those kinds of things. A lot of times they're very unconscious and we don't even know they're going on. I mean, I really didn't know I had a lot of that going on until I really decided it was time to take a look at some things from my own inner world that, may have been, stopping me from being the happier person that I wanted to be. And we also talked about, blaming the outside world, blaming other people, blaming circumstances for where we find ourselves and in our state of affairs. Whereas I know my partner in crime has mentioned many times on our videos, it's about us. It really comes down to it. It's about us and our inner world and what we got going on inside that we really need to check in on and make sure that, we've got the right, we've got the right beliefs, we've got the right thinking, the right programming going on, that whole thing. And we also talked about taking a look at forgiveness and how important that is to make peace with the past. Really take a look at, are there any areas of our lives, are there any people, to ourselves, even to our creator, that we need to really just, I want to use the word atone, and I don't say it in a religious way, but really just, be genuinely sorry and want to make amends and move on, sort of thing. It's so healthy to do that, and it's so freeing to do that. And so Betty and Ann and I were thinking just before we got on this morning that, another big piece to this, I'm going to call it another, like kind of like a dust bunny or an elephant in the room. If we look at our own, joy, happiness, love, where we're at with those, in those areas, one that is lurking there as well is judgment, right? And we sort of touched on that when we were talking about this idea of not being enough, and that we had these thoughts and these beliefs about ourselves, and we were actually judging ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Leanne?
Yes.
That's what we were doing. So we'd like to expand on that and go beyond. We'll talk a little bit more about self-judgment because it's all really important, but also the judgment that we have on others. Are we judgmental people? Like, really, are we at heart, even though we don't mean to be, because we're talking a lot about unconscious actions, right?
Right.
Are we unconsciously being judgmental, like overly so? And we're not looking for perfection here, are we? We're looking to be better, and clean up these things that we're doing that just get in the way.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts, my partner, on this big, huge subject?
Well, it's a huge subject because, in today's world, there's so much about judging in our outer world, what's going on today. We judge that, you know, sounds really difficult to not judge in today's world because there are things you like and you don't like. And when others do things you're not crazy about, you judge them as being wrong. Okay. And I say that because I notice myself doing this. And I'm realizing that, okay, if I'm judging someone as wrong, they're only wrong in my eyes. I can't say they're wrong in general because that's their prerogative to do whatever it is that's they're doing. Now, granted, there are things going on in today's world that are despicable, and I'm not going there. I'm just going just in how people look, how people dress, how people talk, how people feel, and whether or not they would react to something that you. And that's another thing, reacting. And I think I brought that up last time. You are we our judgment are is it a reaction because of all our past training, if you want to call it?
Yeah.
As we learned through our eyes, our taste, our hearing, our feelings, our emotions. So these are things that we have to be aware that we're doing. We're doing to others because if we're doing them to others, we're definitely have something wrong with us. And why are we judging ourselves? Why are we saying to ourselves we're not good enough? Why are we saying to ourselves that I don't like the way I look today? Why I say that a lot, and I have to tell myself, no, I love myself, even with the
I
wrinkles.
know you do. You have done a lot of work in that aspect, my dear.
But so I have to think about I have to stop myself when I'm thinking that way. Because when I say when I look at people, I'm a good, I used to say I love people watching. Because, and why did I love people watching? Because I thought it was comical to see different people on how they reacted to different things. And I say that as we used to do it as a game. And then we would, I had a friend of mine who was a psychologist. And so when we go out as a couple, two couples, and we'd sit at one table and we'd look at a restaurant and we'd observe other tables. And maybe this other couple's over here at this other table and they're talking. And we make up all kinds of stories about them. Because we didn't know who they were. We didn't really have a judgment over them, but we created our own little judgment and drama about them. Now, that was a game we played, but how often is that not a game? How often is it that we do that just by what they look like? I mean, I I can't tell you that I don't do that, because I do. Um, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but I am learning not to do that as more often at not than do.
Yeah, you're aware of it, right? Like you're aware of what you're doing because you realize that you don't want to be like that,
No,
right? And it does take work to stop it. It just doesn't stop like that. You have to be very, very conscious of the way that you're thinking and
yes.
how you're behaving, right?
And then I have to say to myself, why am I doing that? What what do I care? Why do I care if they dress that way? It's their life.
Yeah, really. What does it matter?
It really doesn't matter, um, to you. It really shouldn't matter. And two things that I think about when that happens is, one, you if you're judging others, you're saying you're afraid that they're judging you. So if you're afraid of them judging you, then stop judging them, because the more often you judge others, the more often that's going to come back to you. Maybe not from that person, but
Absolutely. It's an indicator, isn't it?
yes,
It's an indicator of actually what is going on. Like if you're doing it,
yeah.
chances are
So
that other people are doing it to you too. It's the energy of it that you're in,
and do you
right?
want that? Do you
Yeah.
want to stay in there, or do you
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
no,
And do you realize that doing that is taking you further away from the happiness, from the love, because it ain't love.
no,
Judgment is an opposite of
yes,
love. It ain't love,
no,
right? So do you want to do that kind of stuff and stop yourself? Like be a little bit selfish here or self-aware here as to what you want and how to get what you want by stopping these kinds of unconscious habits that we have
and,
that are just destructive.
and it all comes back to what we've seen before, what we've heard before, what we've felt before from someone that we admired or we were around and we were stuck with or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, and so we have to be good with ourselves and say, you know what, I'm stopping the pattern. I'm stopping the pattern that I've been taught,
Mm-hmm.
because that pattern doesn't fit for me anymore. And this is a new time. It's a new era. It's a new, you know, um, time period of our lives, that if we want to survive, we need to be loving, giving, grateful, and appreciative of everything, everyone. Number one, start with you. And number two, you can do others.
Mm-hmm.
If you start with you, it's like automatically the outer world changes.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's been my experience, been your experience, right? Like
Yes,
we experimented with all of these things, right? And then by doing that, by correcting, being conscious about these things and actually consciously trying to be different, things do change in the outer world. When you change the inner world, your outer world does change. That's been my experience, right? Yours as well?
absolutely. It's an automatic. And judgment isn't just judging, it's also expecting from others to react or to act a certain way that you want them to.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
That,
mhm.
see, that's where judgment comes from. You're expecting others to be uh, for you expecting others to do something that you want them to do, instead of allowing them to be themselves with no judgment. And there we go, back to our series when we talked about unconditional love, because that's truly what unconditional love is, without judgment, without expectations, and without any timeline, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. And the adage, live and let live,
Yeah,
is coming up in my mind, like
I love the
just
Beatles songs.
let it, yeah, like just not live and let die, but live and let live. Let people be who they are. Like, what does it really matter when you really think about it? This is where I went to. Like, does it really, like, am I going to jeopardize my own happiness being wrapped up with these kinds of thoughts about people? Why not just let them be who they are and
Yeah,
let me be me and you be you? And I think there is a song about that too.
there's lots of songs. And you know what? You brought up something, because the song says "live and let die," but but in reality, I think what it means, if you really take the words, you want them, you want to live and let go, is what.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, live and let go.
Let go of that. Let it go. Let it die off. Let it go away, because you don't need it. You just want to live. You want
Yeah,
to enjoy. You want to have blessings. You want to have love. And the only way you can is you have to have it so that you can give that away.
yeah. And back in the day, I experimented with, when I was looking at my own judgment, my level of it. I when I was getting really conscious about how I was thinking about things, because I was stalking myself. I was stalking my thoughts. That's what I did for a period of about a month. Really stalked how I was thinking and journaled and made notes of things like that. It was like, it just felt, when you judge, when you say, yeah, your mind goes about somebody or something, it feels bad. Like, it doesn't feel good when you do that. Like,
It's hard to do it,
it just, it's
not feel that.
yucky. So that's an indicator that this ain't good. I mean, like, it's,
So it's almost like maybe we need to, when we catch ourselves saying something about that, and just say, okay, that's not me. I really love the fact that that person is honoring themselves.
mhm. It's consciously stopping it. It's becoming aware of the habit that you've got.
Mhm.
And when it comes up, you don't, you stop it. You stop it and do something like Betty Ann said, right? Like, whatever technique you want to use, that you turn it around, or you just, say that this is not who I want to be. I'm not doing this. You're training the mind. Every
Yes.
time you stop yourself, you're training the mind out of that habit of instantaneous judgment.
So another thought would be, if you see somebody that, you know how we used to learn that, um, never say anything bad about someone. If you can't say anything bad, don't say anything at all. But how about if we change it to, okay, we start to say or we think, uh, that about someone that we're going to judge or, you know, expect or whatever. How about if we catch it, and we say something good about them? So you know how you look at
Hmm.
that person, and maybe I'm not even going to give examples because I could offend somebody.
Yeah.
But you would say, I love the color of your lipstick,
Yeah. Find something good about it, right? That's a really good technique.
or your color of your hair is really out of this world. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's great. It feels good. Or You know what? I really appreciate you being here. Because you know what? Even if they were somebody that you weren't happy about being there, but you should appreciate the fact that they are there because now they got you to think about why are you feeling like you really don't want them there. There must be something inside you.
An opportunity, right, arises
Yeah.
for you to look at yourself and
So,
how you're thinking.
so I have a, we're doing a 21-day meditation, and the one verse today was about turning fear into opportunities of love. So it's recognizing that um, that thing you don't like, and you turn that into an opportunity to love something that it brought awareness to.
Yeah, right on.
Because really, that's I think what we need to assess is what are we becoming aware of. You know, we've been, you know, when we become aware that we're judging, then we learn that we catch ourselves more often.
Yeah,
And the more we
absolutely. That's what happens.
and the more
It's
we catch
practice.
ourselves, and the more we do catch ourselves, the less we'll do it. And that's what it is. It's all about becoming aware and being able to find a way to change and find a way to change that negative aspect into a positive, and it's not even positive, into an opportunity to go the other route.
Yeah, and the other way that feels better, that's more loving, like you're saying, that it's a match to what it is we want
Yeah,
in our lives, right?
absolutely. And
Because the criticism is not the root. It's
the
really not.
it's really a reflection of whatever it is that you're struggling with.
Yeah, what you got going on inside. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've said all along, it takes a lot of guts once you get the awareness.
Yeah.
And what I remember I had to do was when I realized that I was judging a lot more than I actually thought that I was more judgmental than I actually was, that I started because my mind was so trained to do it to me and do it to others. I had to stop myself from starting to judge myself and criticize myself for being such a bad person.
I
And
know.
you know what I mean? Like it's just
It's a circle. It's a never ending circle. So the only way you can change the circle is to change the flow.
exactly.
So
The
if
habit has to change.
yeah, so if the circle is going like this, well, that's static electricity you don't want. So you want it to flow, and
Yeah.
good, right? So how do you change it from static to to a flowing, loving feeling? You
Yeah.
find a way that makes you feel good and honest feeling. Because I know a lot of people could say, "Oh yeah, I'll change it from negative to positive," and they basically be sarcastic, and but they're only hurting themselves because they're the only ones that are going to get that feeling. And so it's kind of like we life, life is full of it's not kind of, life is definitely full of all kinds of experiences, opportunities for us to take it down whichever road we want to take it down. And whether you believe we're predestined or we chose our life or whatever,
That doesn't matter. Yeah.
what it is that you at the moment get to choose. And that's, if you want to call it free will, you can, but it's actually a mental choice that, do I want to feel good about me, within me? Then I need to be aware of what I'm thinking and feeling about the outside. And it's not just people,
Oh, absolutely not. It's absolutely not. Situations.
Yeah, it's everything that's going on in today's world. We have to learn to get rid of the fear, because we don't want to be fearful, because fearful makes us react. And then when we become reactive within fear, we can't go anywhere. We're stuck. And that's not where you want to be. That's not where I want to be. We want to be in a place that we can enjoy life. And we can. You can enjoy your life today wherever you are in this world, no matter what you have and no matter who you're with. And that is what I'm learning. Even though I've known it all my life, I'm learning more and more that I am not in control of anybody. Technically, I'm not in control of my husband. But I do know that the two of us are the only two that we can count on each other, because we're together all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you build that relationship. You have that
But
relationship where
really,
you can.
I have to be in a good space. He has to be in a good space about each other, yourselves. And that's when the two flow.
That's right. Yeah. You're very fortunate that way, because a lot of people, and probably some people that are listening, they don't have that type of relationship going on with their spouses.
And I'm very blessed. I'm very,
And again, the journey starts within.
yep.
It's not, I know, because I was married, I've had relationships and things like that. The more I tried to push
To
and
make,
I tried to change,
oh my God.
I tried this and that and got trying to get them to change the behavior or their attitudes, I'd run up against a brick wall all the time. And it was so frustrating. I just got to the point where there's got to be another way here. There's just got to be another way.
Well, you said something there that triggered something, because I don't want people to think that, I've been married for 54 years. We dated 2 years before. I was 13 and he was 15. And then we got married at 16 and 18. But trust me, we've had our challenges. We've had
Sure.
to learn. And most of the time I reflect back to my latest, within the last 20 years, I've realized that I wanted Bob to be somebody he wasn't.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why I was unhappy,
Yeah.
because I married who he is. I loved who he is. I still love who he is. But by wanting him to change, and at one point, he was trying to change for me, but it made him so miserable that I had to look at that and go, what am I doing?
Yeah. It wasn't natural for him, right? You were the one that was driving that.
It's my issue that I had a problem with. And once I realized that it was me, because of my insecurities, my belief about myself, once I got more confident in who I was, and then I really didn't need him to be who I am, then I only needed me. And that was a big turning point for me. And once I realized that I will do things because I want to and because I love doing what I do. And I'm going to allow Bob to be himself.
Yeah.
Trust, that trust is there. And I needed to realize that if I'm going to trust, if I want his trust, he has to trust me.
Yeah.
So, and that both we worked together and realized that, you know what, I was trying to make him somebody he wasn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that other person. I wanted Bob back. And so I had to be at peace with whatever it was that I wasn't feeling right about, and I wanted him to change.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't I wanted him to change. I needed to change the way I thought of things I wanted changed. And it wasn't that I wanted it to change. I needed to learn how to feel confident in who I am so that this way I can enjoy it too.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. I remember being similar in a similar situation too with my late husband when we first got together. And there were some things like, you're saying that you're noticing that you don't particularly care for that you would like to change. And I know in my case, I tried to change them because I wasn't aware at that point. I didn't know. I thought that's how you did it. I thought that's how you did it. And that didn't work, right? Obviously, that's not going to work if a person doesn't want to change and if he doesn't see the need for that, they just, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So I remember being in the situation where I got to thinking, I got a choice here. I
Right.
either walk, and if these things really matter so much to me and it's a deal breaker, like I had to like examine that. Are these deal breakers or not?
Exactly.
Because sometimes it is.
Mhm.
Sometimes there are things that are they're that serious flaws, let's call them,
Right.
in a person and their behavior that they're you got to get out. Or can I just, like you're, accept this person for who they are and be okay with it, and just embrace that and be all right with it. And,
That's right.
so what that he's not this, that, and the other, because you know what? I realized those things just didn't matter so much.
Nope.
He brought so much more to the table. But, I was focusing on these smaller things, shall we say? These small, which I deemed they were smaller because I looked at them, right? Are they, deal breakers or not, right? Like, are these serious or not? And they weren't. I decided that they weren't.
Yeah.
So I just decided that, I want to, this person is inherently a match for me, is a good person, and I'm going to stay with them. And I'm just going to, be all right with it and just love them for who they are,
Yeah.
not the other way around, like focusing on these little things that were wrong, right? I mean, our focus is so important on where we're putting our thoughts.
Absolutely. It's just all perspective, and it's what kind of perspective are you putting out there about yourself, and if it's judgmental for yourself, you're going to judge others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're judging others, you better. The only way to change it is to analyze what it is that's not right with you, that you're not happy with, or that you feel guilty of, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And the funny thing was that some of the things that I was judging him about were very close to things about myself. And I just was not aware of it.
Yeah,
I just wasn't aware of it till I took the journey to take a look,
yeah,
and that's just what we're suggesting here for people to do is to take a look at these things.
Well, it's 35 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's a good ending, right? A good thing to wrap up on, wrap it up for the session.
And just remember our like and subscribe, and it's your heartoflove.com, and check it out. Leave us a comment. Tell us if you like what we're talking about, or if you want to hear other things, or whatever. We're just two women, two soul sisters, just talking about our issues, our thoughts, our and hope to share a glimmer of hope for someone.
Yeah, and we're not done either. Like, by doing these, we were talking about this too.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're still
we're getting a lot out of this ourselves. This is not a top-down thing.
no,
It's we're deepening too, right?
absolutely, and that's mainly the reason why we started doing this, because we were talking anyways, and we said, "Oh, let's record this. This was a good." Like,
Yeah, maybe we could do some good, right?
maybe somebody else wants to hear it too.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
anyways,
Okay.
we love y'all.
Yes, we do. From our hearts to your hearts, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, and have a great week. Bye.
Bye-bye.